Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. If you're new here, consider subscribing. It really helps keep these stories coming. And while you're here, let me know in the comments where you're listening from. Now, sit back, relax, and let's get into the story. The emergency alert hit my phone so hard it muted the podcast. 1 second I was listening to a true crime host talk about a missing hiker. The next second the screen went white and my speakers cut out. The text-to-speech voice was flat and calm, that specific tone that feels worse than someone shouting. Emergency alert, do not exit your vehicle. Interstate 70 between Green River and Salina is compromised. Repeat, do not exit your vehicle. Follow law enforcement direction. The words sat there on the screen, framed by a red border, refusing to clear no matter how many times I tapped. I glanced up from the phone and back to the road. I was parked under the bright white canopy lights of the Shell station on the west side of Green River, Utah. It was a little after 10 at night. The store was closed. The pumps were on pay at the pump only. The sky beyond the sodium lights was a thick blanket of cloud. No stars. Just a gray ceiling pressed low over the San Rafael swell. I drive nights. Rideshare is my main gig these days. Denver, Salt Lake, sometimes Las Vegas when I feel like a long week. That night, I was dead-heading west out of Colorado, heading toward Richfield to crash in a cheap motel. I'd dropped my last passengers in Grand Junction a few hours before, fueled up there, then topped off again in Green River out of pure habit. You don't mess around with fuel on the stretch between Green River and Salina. It's just over 100 miles of nothing. No gas, no diners, just dark rocks and occasional reflectors. I first heard about that section as a kid, looking at one of those novelty maps that list strange facts. Longest stretch of interstate in the U.S. with no services, it said under a cartoon of a gas gauge on empty, pointing to I-70 between Green River and Salina. I never thought I'd end up making that drive once a month. The pump clicked off. I slid the nozzle back into the cradle, screwed the cap on my old Subaru Outback, and looked around. The lot was mostly empty. One white semi with its engine running, driver probably asleep in the cab. A family SUV at the far end with the sunshade still stuck in the windshield even though it was night. No one moving. My phone still showed the alert. The fine print at the bottom had updated. If on IE-70 between mile markers 138, 155, remain in vehicle, do not approach other vehicles, do not walk on roadway. Await instructions. I checked my dash clock, 10:07 p.m. The digital numbers glowed green. Below them, the outside temperature read 46 degrees. Cool, not cold, late September. I could have turned north, taken US 6 up toward Price and then over toward Spanish Fork, then swung back down on I-15 toward Richfield. It would have added hours to the drive. I was already tired. I'd been on the road since late afternoon and I wanted a bed, not a long detour. From where I stood, I could see the faint glow of I-70 to the west, an elevated line of white reflectors and occasional red taillights. It looked normal. I don't love this, I said out loud to no one. My voice sounded small under the canopy. I'm not reckless. I used to be a paramedic. I left that job after 12 years because I got tired of being the first person to walk into situations that made no sense. But that training never really leaves you. I stood there for a long moment with the pump handle still smelling faintly of gasoline in my hand, thinking through possibilities. Hazmat, shooter. Big accident in the dark with debris in the road. Maybe a gas leak from a tanker. Maybe a chemical cloud. My brain pulled up every incident report I'd ever read. Do not exit your vehicle. Made sense for all of those. Stay inside the metal box. Keep the doors closed. Don't breathe anything weird. Don't wander into traffic. Don't present a target. Compromised. was the word that didn't fit. That sounded like a system problem, not a simple crash. The semi hissed gently as air leaked down the brake lines. Somewhere in town, a train horn blew, long and distant. I checked my fuel gauge, full tank. The Outback got 27 on the highway if I behaved and the wind was kind. The drive to Salina was roughly 110 miles. Even with elevation changes and a little headwind, it was fine. My phone buzzed again. Another alert. Same wording, same stretch. No extra detail. I could have gone back to the interstate eastbound, found a motel in Green River and waited it out. But I've seen how long incidents can last on remote stretches. Hours. Sometimes all night. I'd sleep in the car anyway, and I hated trying to rest upright with the steering wheel in front of me. I got back in the driver's seat, shut the door, and just sat there, letting the quiet of the closed cabin wrap around me. The car smelled faintly of coffee, fast food, and the generic pine tree air freshener one of my passengers had left around the gear shift. My rideshare sticker glowed faintly in the corner of the windshield, catching the overhead light. "Okay," I said. "We'll go take a look. If it looks wrong, we turn around." I tapped the phone screen until the alert finally minimized. The rideshare app still showed me as offline. No new notifications. Cellular bars dropped from 3 to 2 as I pulled away from the station and headed toward the on-ramp. Before the on-ramp, there was already a sign trailer set up on the shoulder. One of those portable electronic message boards with amber LEDs. Usually they say things like, "Bridge work ahead," or "Expect delays." This one was simple. I-70 westbound, do not enter, follow detour. Orange cones and a Utah Highway Patrol cruiser blocked the usual on-ramp. The cruiser's red and blue lights flashed across the empty pavement. I slowed, rolled down my window, and stopped short of the cones. The trooper got out as I approached. Mid-30s, short beard, high-visibility jacket over his uniform. Campaign hat pulled low. His name tag said Henderson. He walked up to my window on the passenger side, one hand resting lightly near his belt. "Evening," he said. "Ramp's closed. You'll want to take us. 6 north." "What's going on out there?" I asked. He hesitated, just long enough for me to notice. He glanced toward the west, where the interstate disappeared into darkness between low hills. The cloud cover reflected a dull orange glow from the town lights. "We've got a situation between about mile 140 and 155, he said. "Best information right now is to keep people off that stretch entirely. Detours up through Price." "I used to be a medic," I said before I could stop myself. "Old habits. Anything I can—" "No," he said quickly. Then he softened his tone. "No, sorry, I appreciate it, but no. We're trying to reduce the number of vehicles in the zone, not add more. Just take the detour. I know it's a pain. They'll probably open it back up in the morning." He handed me a printed flyer through the window. It was a simple black and white sheet with a map of the detour, and the same alert text from my phone at the top. "Do not exit your vehicle," I read. "That's a new one." "Yeah," he said. "That's the main thing. If you're already on there for some reason, stay in your car. But we're pretty sure we've got everyone headed off now." "Pretty sure?" I asked. He looked back at the westbound lanes again. For a moment, he didn't answer. Then he turned back and gave me the official reassuring smile. "Head up to US 6, he repeated. "You'll be fine." I nodded, rolled up the window, and pulled away. Instead of turning right toward the detour, I took the frontage road that paralleled the interstate for a while. It's an old habit of mine. Whenever I see a closure, I like to drive along the outside edge and see if there's an exit ramp they missed or a spot where the traffic thins out. It saves a lot of time in cities. Green River isn't a city. The frontage road is a narrow strip of aging asphalt that serves some industrial lots, a pair of motels, and then turns to gravel and keeps going west until it meets one of the few ranch access roads. After that, it's just dirt tracks. The interstate rose up on a shallow embankment to my left. The concrete barrier and guardrail blocked most of the view, but I could see the glow of headlights sliding eastbound and the occasional reflection of red tail lamps heading west. Cell service dropped to 1 bar. The rideshare app spun a little loading icon when I tried to refresh the map, then gave up. I drove past the last motel, past a chain-link fence surrounding a small maintenance yard, and the road narrowed. A spray-painted wooden sign warned, "No winter maintenance beyond this point." A couple hundred yards later, the gravel track swung closer to the interstate again. There was a low break in the median where, in theory, emergency vehicles could cut through. In practice, it was just wide enough for my Outback. I pulled to a stop and killed the headlights. The sky was darker out here, away from the town lamps. The clouds had an uneven texture, faintly brighter in some spots where the glow of distant cities reached them. The wind pushed them along slowly from the southwest, forming long gray streaks. The interstate itself looked strangely empty. Eastbound, a few pairs of headlights whispered past now and then, reflecting in the metal of the guardrail. Westbound, between me and the dark swell of terrain, there were fewer than I'd expect at this hour. I watched for a full minute. Nothing came. The alert's wording sat in the back of my mind. Do not exit your vehicle. Highway compromised. It's probably just a big hazmat thing, I said quietly. They'll be running everything off at Salina. Nothing to do with you, Alex. I turned the engine off and listened. No sirens. No helicopters. The air smelled dry and mineral, with a faint trace of exhaust from the semi back at the station still clinging to my clothes. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from my sister in Denver. "You on the road? Got an alert about some highway thing in Utah. You okay?" I stared at the text for a moment. Then I lied. "Yeah, I'm good. Going to stop soon. Love you." I hit send, locked the screen, and put the phone face down in the cup holder. Then I started the car again, turned on the headlights, and steered toward the break in the median. The Outback bumped over the gravel, the suspension complaining a little. The undercarriage scraped lightly on the concrete lip. Then I was on the westbound shoulder of I-70, pointed toward the heart of the San Rafael swell, with the detour and the trooper and all common sense behind me. I set the cruise at 60, slower than usual. The official speed limit is 75 through that stretch, but I wanted time to react. The first few miles felt normal. The highway climbed gently, the desert opening up around me. Low scrub, sandstone outcrops, the occasional green sliver of a wash or dry riverbed. The high beams carved out a tunnel of pale light ahead, reflective posts stuttering past in a steady rhythm. After mile marker 140, the radio cut out. I had been half listening to an old playlist. The screen still showed track information, but the music vanished and a bar of static took its place. I tapped the screen, switched to FM, spun the tuner. Nothing. Just broadband hiss. "Okay," I said, "that happens." The cellular bars dropped to 0. The little LTE icon disappeared. That also happens out there. I've driven this stretch enough to know there are dead zones. What doesn't usually happen is your dashboard clock skipping 9 minutes forward in the span of a breath. One moment, the green digits read 10:23. I remember staring at them because I was thinking I'd be in Salina by around 11:30 if I kept this pace. The very next glance, mid-thought, said 10:32. I didn't feel anything. No jolt, no micro-sleep, no blackout. My eyes never even left the road. But the mile markers had moved farther than they should have. Last one I remembered was 141. The next one I passed after noticing the clock was 144. I took my foot off the gas and let the cruise control kick off. The car coasted down toward 50. "Stay calm," I said out loud. "You're tired. You zoned out. You do that sometimes." I do, actually. Long, empty stretches have that effect, but zoning out still feels like time passing. You feel your thoughts drift, your focus blur. This was different. It was like a cut in a movie where they splice out a segment and jump ahead. I reset the trip meter just to have a fresh number to track. It read 0.0 as we passed another reflector post. The cloud cover shifted overhead. Darker patches moved across lighter ones. The beams of my headlights speared straight ahead, pale against the asphalt, then dimmed slightly as some thicker band of cloud cut off more of the diffused sky glow. Up ahead, a red glow appeared, low on the horizon. I eased back onto the gas, took the car up to 55, and watched the glow resolve into scattered taillights. Within a minute, I saw the first stopped vehicle. A silver sedan sat in the right lane with its hazards flashing. The engine was running. I could see the faint frosting of its exhaust in my high beams. The driver's door hung open. No one in the seat. No one in the passenger seat. A backpack lay on the shoulder strap. The empty car sat diagonally across the lane, just enough that I had to move to the left lane to pass. As I drew even with it, I turned my head slightly, checking the interior. Purse on the front seat. Child's car seat in back, empty. A phone mount on the windshield with no phone in it. "Hello?" I said automatically, even though my windows were closed. No movement. My chest tightened. I felt my heart pick up. Probably they got picked up already, I told myself. Patrol car came through, loaded them, got them to an exit. They just didn't have time to move the car. Then I saw the second one. It was a pickup truck, dark blue, tucked half onto the shoulder, nose in the gravel. Reverse lights were on, faint white glow, but the vehicle wasn't moving. The driver's door was open, and the dome light was on. The little light illuminated an empty interior. A pair of work gloves lay on the ground by the running board. Farther ahead, beyond that, more pinpoints of red light hung in the air, scattered across both lanes and the shoulder. I slowed to 30, hands tight on the wheel. The emergency alert repeated in my head. Do not exit your vehicle. Do not approach other vehicles. Await instructions. I passed a third car, this time a rental with a barcode sticker on the rear window. Suitcase half dragged out of the trunk, lying open in the right lane. Clothes scattered. No people. At the fourth vehicle, my hands started shaking. I pulled to the center of the left lane and crept along at 20, weaving gently around open doors and abandoned belongings. Engines idled. Headlights glared into the dark. One SUV had radio music still playing at low volume. A small white hatchback had its wipers slowly dragging across a dry windshield, squeaking with each pass. Every single one was empty of people. I wanted to stop. Every fiber of my old medic brain wanted to pull over, flip on hazard lights, and start checking cars in order. Call out, look for anyone injured or hiding or unconscious in the back seats. But the words on my phone kept echoing. Do not exit your vehicle. I needed more information before I stepped out into this. I needed to know what had pulled all of them out of their seats. My eyes kept flicking to the side mirrors. The road behind me was empty. No trooper, no line of cars. Just the red blink of my own hazard lights reflected faintly in a sea of headlights and taillights from the parked vehicles. Somewhere around mile marker 147, the sky changed. The wind aloft picked up speed. I couldn't feel it directly through the sealed doors, but I saw the way the clouds started to move faster. Dark bands sliding over lighter ones, then breaking apart, then closing again. The brightness level over the road changed in slow pulses as thicker and thinner parts of the cloud deck drifted over whatever faint glow the distant towns gave off. It felt like being under a giant dimmer switch. That was when I saw the thing across the road. At first, I thought it was an overpass that I'd forgotten about. The headlights caught a broad horizontal surface above the lanes, maybe 30 feet up, darker than the sky behind it. But the more I stared, the less it looked like any structure I recognized. There were no support pillars at the edges, no sign panels, no concrete barriers leading up to it. It just hung there above the asphalt, a dark mass cutting across the westbound and eastbound lanes both, from the far shoulder all the way to my side. I eased off the gas and let the Outback roll down to a crawl. The object didn't reflect my headlights. The light hit it and died. It didn't have hard edges at first. It was more like a thick absence where the sky should be. The clouds shifted again. A brighter patch moved over the highway. As the ambient light increased, the shape moved. That is the only way I can describe it. One heartbeat, it was across the lanes directly ahead. The next heartbeat, it had shifted 50 yards down the road, as if it had slid sideways without any motion in between. No blur, no trace, just gone from one spot and present in another. Every time the sky brightened or dimmed, it shifted again. It kept doing that. Cloud shadow moves, shape moves, cloud thins, shape jumps, always crossing the road, always perpendicular to the lanes. Each time it appeared, it blocked my view of the vehicles beyond it, like a curtain that only came down when the clouds hit certain positions. My breathing turned shallow. I realized I'd unconsciously let my foot off the gas entirely. The car drifted at 10 miles an hour. The dashboard clock read 10:39. Then the time display flickered. 10:39 became 10:44 in less than the time it took me to blink. The trip meter, which I had reset to 0 only a few minutes earlier, now read 7.2 miles. I hadn't felt myself travel 7 miles. The last mile marker I remembered clearly was 145. The next one I passed after the clock change was 150. I gripped the wheel so hard my fingers hurt. "Okay," I said. "Something is wrong. Something is really wrong." I hit the hazard switch. The orange triangle on the dash lit up. Outside, the Outback's hazard lights began to flash. I checked my phone. No service, no emergency calls. The last thing on the screen was my "love you" text to my sister. I told myself I'd give it another half mile, then turn around between gaps in the abandoned cars if I could. The idea of backing up through that whole field made my stomach knot. As I inched forward, I spotted movement ahead. For a moment I thought it was the shape across the road again, but this was different. This was lower, human height, stepping out from between two stopped vehicles on the right shoulder. A woman in a neon yellow safety vest walked into my headlights. She raised both hands, palms out, to shield her eyes from the glare. Dark hair was pulled back into a bun under a hard hat. Her vest had the Utah Department of Transportation logo. A handheld radio dangled from her belt. She looked solid, real, tired. I braked to a full stop 10 yards from her. The engine idled. The hazard lights clicked on and off. She walked around front and came up on the driver's side. I cracked the window a couple of inches. "Stay in the car," she yelled immediately, leaning close. "Do not open the door all the way." Her eyes were wide and bloodshot. Her name tag read Morales. "I'm in," I said. "Window only. What's going on?" She took a breath, glanced up at the sky, then back at me. "Name?" she asked. "Alex," I said. "Alex Vega." Okay, Alex, I'm Lena. I need you to keep rolling west until you see the next overpass. There should be troopers staged there. Do not stop. Do not get out. Do not talk to anyone on the road. Got it? Where did everyone go? I asked. These cars are all empty. Her mouth tightened. They're not all gone, she said. Some of them are in their vehicles. Some of them didn't stay put. Are they hurt? I asked. Some, she said. We think most are just affected. We don't fully understand it yet. What is it? I asked. Is this a chemical thing? Radiation? Some kind of... It's not chemical. Sensors are clean, she said quickly. At least the ones that are still sending data. It started about an hour ago with people reporting losing time, seeing things in the sky. Then the dashcams started failing. Then the signs started glitching. Then people stopped answering the radio. As if on cue, there was a crackle at her belt. The handheld radio spat out a burst of static, then a voice half buried in it. Lena, you at 151 yet? We lost you for... Come back if you copy. She unclipped the radio and pulled it up to her mouth. Morales, at approximately 149, she said. I have one civilian vehicle here still occupied. I'm directing him westbound under your guidance. Radio dropped again back there, getting a lot of blank spots. Copy, the voice said, briefly clearer. Confirm you did not exit your truck? She looked away for a split second. That was when I noticed the state pickup parked in the median behind her, nose against the concrete barrier. The driver's door stood open, dome light on. No, she said into the radio. I stayed in contact with the vehicle at all times. It was a lie. Whatever protocol she was following, she had already broken it. The clouds overhead thickened for a moment, dimming the sky further. Then they thinned again. In that brightening, just behind her left shoulder, the massive shape across the road manifested and shifted. It appeared about 100 yards ahead, spanning all lanes. Even at that distance, it looked wrong. There was no curvature, no familiar architecture, just a wide, blunt form obscuring the hazard lights of cars beyond it. My heart pounded against my ribs. What is that? I asked. She didn't turn around. She kept her eyes locked on mine with deliberate effort. Do not look at it, she said softly. That seems to make things worse. I already did, I said. What is it? We don't know, she said. We know it shows up when the cloud cover shifts. We know people who climb out to get a better look at it stop responding on the radio. We know dashcams pointed toward it fail. That's all. The dashboard clock flipped again. 10:44 became 10:52 with no transition. My stomach lurched, even though the car interior stayed steady. Lena's radio hissed and fell silent. Okay, she said. Listen, my truck behind me still runs. I have to get back in it. If I stay out here too long, I start to lose time. Same as everyone else. I need you to do exactly what I say. She studied the line of vehicles ahead, then leaned closer to my window. You see that tanker up there, the one angled across both lanes? She hissed. I looked past her. About 200 yards ahead, a white fuel tanker sat diagonally, its cab on the left shoulder, its trailer blocking most of the right lane. Hazard lights blinked weakly. Yeah, I said. Past that, about a mile, there's an overpass, she said. Emergency crews are using it as a collection point. That overpass seems to block whatever's causing this. People under it don't lose time. Radios work there. That's where you're going. Stay in the car, keep doors locked. If someone is standing on the road trying to wave you down and they aren't wearing a vest like mine, don't stop for them no matter what they say. Understood? That feels wrong, I said, glancing at the empty cars. Leaving people out here? Her jaw clenched. I know, she said. We're trying to stage rescues from under the overpass. We move from vehicle to vehicle when conditions are stable. But if you stop now and you get out, you will become our problem too. It's like quicksand, okay? You can't help anyone if you're stuck in it." She took a breath. "One more thing," she added. "If you notice the clock jumping, or if you realize you lost a chunk of time, do not panic. Talk out loud. Say the time you see. Say what you remember. That seems to help anchor people." "Anchor," I repeated. "Yes," she said. "Keep your mind in one continuous line even if the road is trying to cut it up." Before I could ask what she meant by that, she stepped back. "Go," she said. "Do not stop. I'll be right behind you in my truck." I eased off the brake and rolled forward. As soon as my wheels were moving, she turned and jogged back towards the state pickup. For a moment I saw her silhouette against my headlights, then she was gone behind me. The massive shape ahead flickered again as the clouds shifted. One moment in one spot, then in another, always crossing the lanes, always present only when the sky brightened or dimmed. I gripped the wheel and focused on what was directly in front of me. Abandoned cars, open doors, suitcases, a child's stuffed animal lying face down in the center of the lane, one arm flattened by a tire track. "Time is 10:52, I said out loud. "Mile marker probably around 149. I'm driving forward at about 20 miles an hour. I'm staying in my vehicle. I am breathing." Hearing my own voice felt strange, but it gave me something to hold on to. I kept talking. "I used to be a paramedic in Denver," I said. "Night shift for 12 years. I quit 3 years ago after a bad call-out on I-25 in a blizzard. I moved to rideshare because I thought it would be boring in comparison. I wanted boring." The road rolled under my tires. The hazard lights blinked. "I'm going to get through this," I said. "I'm going to get under that overpass. I'm going to send my sister another text in the morning, telling her what a weird night I had." The dashboard clock jumped again. 10:52 became 11:06 in a single instant. I didn't feel anything. No jerk, no sense of skipping, but the tanker truck that had been a distant shape was now directly in front of me. I braked hard, tires squealing a little on the concrete. The Outback slid to a stop 10 feet from the tanker's trailer. My heart hammered. My palms were slick with sweat. Behind me, in the rearview mirror, I saw nothing but a sea of red and white lights from the other vehicles. No sign of the state pickup. "Time is 11:06, I said quickly. "I'm at the tanker. I lost about 14 minutes with no memory. I am still in the car. I am okay." My breathing was fast. I forced myself to sit back, unclench my shoulders, and study the situation. The tanker's cab rested on the left shoulder. The trailer blocked most of the right lane but left a narrow gap on the far right between its rear wheels and the guardrail. Enough space for a compact car, maybe, but not for my wagon without scraping. If I tried to squeeze through and misjudged it, I might wedge the car there and be stuck. Nose in the guardrail, rear sticking out in the lane. Trapped. I looked for a way around on the left. No room. The median dropped off steeply into rough brush and rock. Something moved in my peripheral vision. I snapped my head toward it and immediately regretted it. To the right, between two mid-size SUVs on the shoulder, a man stood facing the sky. His posture was neutral, arms at his sides, head tilted back. He wore jeans and a flannel shirt. His hair was thinning. He looked about 50. His expression was blank. "Hey!" I shouted instinctively, even though the window was up and he couldn't hear me. He didn't react. His chest rose and fell. He was breathing. His eyes were fixed on something above the clouds, or in them. As the cloud cover shifted, light levels changed, and the massive shape across the road appeared and moved again. For a brief instant, its leading edge passed right over him. His outline blurred. It was the smallest effect, barely noticeable, but it was there. One heartbeat, he had crisp edges against the car behind him. The next, his body looked smeared for a fraction of a second, like a long exposure photo where someone moved during the shot. Then he was crisp again, in the same pose. My throat went dry. "Do not look at it," Lena had said. Too late for that. The man's head jerked slightly, as if pulled on a string. His gaze dropped from the sky and locked directly onto my windshield. Our eyes met through 30 feet and a layer of glass. His expression stayed blank. His mouth moved soundlessly. I could not hear any words, but I could see his lips forming shapes. It might have been help, it might have been something else. My hand went for the door lock without my permission. I stopped myself with a jerk, fingers clawing at the plastic instead. "Do not exit your vehicle," I said through clenched teeth. "Do not be an idiot, Alex." He took one step toward the road. His gait was stiff, almost mechanical. He stumbled slightly on the uneven gravel shoulder but didn't look down. His eyes stayed locked on my car. When the clouds shifted again, and the shape across the road flashed into existence further down, his outline blurred a second time. The blur seemed to tug him sideways, maybe an inch, maybe less. I could see a ghost of a second position layered over the first, both existing at the same time for a split second. Then it was gone, and he was where he had been, still staring at me. He mouthed another word. My instincts screamed at me to open the door, run to him, drag him into my car. That was what 12 years of EMS had built into my bones. You see someone standing alone in the lanes of a compromised highway, you don't just drive away. But I remembered something else from those years. The times when people became hazards themselves. Confused, unpredictable, acting in ways that put everyone around them at risk. If whatever was happening here could make people lose 10 minutes at a time without knowing, if it could make a stoic trooper lie about leaving her truck, if it could scatter entire carloads of people into nowhere, then I had to assume that standing in the open with no shelter was the worst place to be. "Time is 11:06, I said again, voice shaking. "I am at the tanker. There's a man on the shoulder. He appears conscious but affected. I am not exiting the vehicle." My eyes burned. My vision blurred. I took a deep breath, then another. I put the car in reverse and backed up a few feet to give myself a better angle. Then I turned the wheel hard right, inching the Outback toward the gap between the tanker's wheels and the guardrail. The metal of the guardrail loomed inches from my passenger side mirror. The tanker's reflective striping glared white in my headlights on the left. I crept forward at 1 or 2 miles an hour, shoulders hunched, listening for the scrape of metal on metal. The massive shape across the road flickered again somewhere ahead. I kept my eyes on the guardrail, refusing to look up. The man on the shoulder took another step toward me, then stopped abruptly, as if an invisible line held him in place. His arms twitched. The radio on my dash, which had been silent for miles, crackled. "All units, be advised, we are seeing increased levels of temporal displacement between 149 and 152, a voice said. "If you are in that zone and still in your vehicle, stay inside. If you are on foot, seek immediate cover inside any vehicle you can reach without extended exposure." The voice distorted mid-sentence, stretching the word inside out until it became a drawn-out tone, then snapping back to normal. "Pete, do not exit your vehicle." The gap between the tanker and the guardrail narrowed, then widened again as the curve of the road shifted. I inched along it, side mirrors nearly brushing both sides. When I finally cleared the tanker's rear wheels, I exhaled so hard my lungs hurt. The road beyond opened up again into a field of scattered cars. Hazard lights, headlights, the occasional dome light, all burning into the night. Far down the highway, silhouetted against the dim sky, I saw the outline of an overpass. 2 thick concrete supports, a horizontal slab across. It looked solid, familiar, blessedly normal. I eased back onto the center of the lane and accelerated to 20, then 25. Behind me, in the mirror, the man on the shoulder still stood there staring after me. The massive shape flickered somewhere between us as the clouds crossed some invisible threshold. I looked away. Time is 11:08, I said. I cleared the tanker. I can see the overpass maybe a mile ahead. I am still in my vehicle. I am okay. Something moved in my back seat. The sound was small. A fabric rustle and a quick intake of breath. Every muscle in my body tensed. I jerked my head toward the rearview mirror. A face stared back at me from the darkness of the back seat. A teenager, maybe 15, with curly brown hair and a hoodie pulled up. His eyes were wide and shining. He was pressed back against the seat as if he'd been trying to make himself invisible. I swore sharply, then clamped my mouth shut, glancing at the empty sky as if it would judge my language. "Who are you?" I demanded, heart pounding. He lifted both hands, palms out. "Please, don't freak out," he said. His voice cracked slightly. "I didn't mean to scare you. I got in when you were stopped back there." "Back where?" I asked. "I never saw you." "I don't think you remember," he said. "You stopped, and you were talking to yourself, and then you got out and opened the back door and told me to get in." My stomach dropped. "No," I said automatically. "No, I never got out. I followed the instructions. I stayed in the car." He shook his head. "You did," he insisted. "At least for me, you did. You were outside and you wouldn't look up, and you told me to climb in and keep my head down. Then you shut the door and got back in the front. Then you went quiet for a while, and then you started talking to yourself again." My hands shook on the wheel. "Time is 11:09, I said firmly, more for myself than for him. "I'm driving toward the overpass. There's a kid in my back seat. I do not remember letting him in." "I'm Noah," he said quickly. "Noah Price. My dad and I were driving from Grand Junction to Provo. We hit this mess about an hour ago. He got out to see what was going on. I stayed in the car like the alert said, but then time kept skipping. Every time the clouds moved, it was suddenly like 10 minutes later, and every time he was farther away." His voice trembled. "Last time I saw him, he was standing in the middle of the lanes, looking up," he said. "Then you showed up. You told me I had to come with you now." My throat tightened. I swallowed hard. "How old are you, Noah?" I asked. 16, he said, almost. "Okay," I said, "seatbelt on?" He nodded. The belt strap was visible across his hoodie. "Good," I said. "Keep it on, keep your head down. Don't look out the windows unless I say so, got it?" He nodded again. "What's wrong with the sky?" he asked in a small voice. I glanced up through the windshield. The clouds were still moving, still thick, still changing the light over the road in slow pulses. "We're going to let smarter people than me answer that," I said. "All we have to do is get under that bridge." Ahead, the overpass grew larger. It was a simple concrete structure, just like dozens of others along the interstate. A county road or ranch access passing over the highway. Underneath it, I could see the faint reflection of additional vehicles, all clustered in the relative shelter. "Time is 11:11, I said. "We're almost there." The dashboard clock flickered. It showed 3:26. I blinked hard. For a moment, I thought the numbers were broken. Then I realized the display had switched to a 24-hour format all on its own and jumped forward by about 4 hours. Noah sucked in a breath behind me. "Did we just jump again?" he asked. "I think so," I said. My voice sounded thin in my own ears. Time is now 3:26 in the morning, but it feels like only a minute passed. Between us and the overpass, the road had changed. The cars that had been scattered loosely were now packed more tightly. Some were at odd angles, as if they had been pushed or moved. Hazard lights blinked in a more synchronized pattern. The massive shape across the road was closer, maybe only a few hundred yards ahead of the bridge now, occupying the entire space between it and us whenever it appeared. Every time the clouds shifted, it jumped closer or farther in steps, but always in that same band of mile or so. It never passed under the overpass. It never appeared directly beneath the concrete span. It always stopped short. The radio crackled again. If you are in a vehicle approaching the collection point at mile 153, reduce speed and prepare to be guided under the overpass, a calm voice said. Do not exit your vehicle. Repeat, do not exit your vehicle. Headlights waved from under the bridge. Someone was signaling me with a flashlight, making slow, deliberate arcs. I took a deep breath and focused on that signal. I ignored the shape. I ignored the clouds. Hold on, Noah, I said. We're going in. I kept the speed at 20. The massive shape flickered in and out of existence ahead, sometimes between me and the overpass, sometimes beyond it, as if hopping back and forth between two positions on the road. Each time, the light level in the car changed slightly. Each time, my eyes wanted to flick toward it. Each time, I forced them back to the flashlight beam and the concrete pillars. My dash clock ticked to 3:27. For once, it moved normally, second by second. As I drew closer, I saw the figures under the bridge more clearly. Highway patrol uniforms, EMS jackets, a couple of people in civilian clothes wrapped in blankets sitting on the hoods of cars. A portable light tower on the shoulder, powered by a small generator, casting harsh white light under the span. The air under the bridge looked almost solid compared to the shifting darkness out on the open road. It felt anchored, stable. The flashlight signaler stepped aside, and I rolled into the shadow of the concrete. The moment the roof of the overpass passed over my windshield, the world snapped back into focus. My ears popped as if I had driven through a pressure front. The radio hiss resolved into clear audio. The dashboard clock froze at 3:27 and stayed there without jumping. The car's engine sounded different, less muffled. I pulled to a stop where a trooper was motioning, near the right shoulder under the bridge. My hands were still trembling. I put the car in park and let out a long breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. Time is 3:27, I said quietly. I am under the overpass. I am still in my vehicle. I am okay. The trooper walked up to my window. I recognized the Utah Highway Patrol uniform, but not the face. This one was older than Henderson, gray streaks at the temples. His badge read Morgan. You made it, he said. You alone in there? No, I said. I've got a kid in the back. Good, he said. Keep him there. For now, nobody gets out unless we're telling them to. He glanced at the sky beyond the edge of the overpass. How bad is it out there? I asked. He exhaled slowly. Bad enough we're not sending any more people into it on purpose, he said. You should not have been on that stretch, sir. I got on before you closed the ramp, I lied automatically, then realized I didn't even know if that was still true in whatever sequence of events this was. He gave me a look that said he didn't believe me but didn't have time to argue. Just stay put for a minute, he said. Medical will come by and check you and the kid, then we'll talk about moving everyone off westbound once conditions stabilize. He stepped back and waved over someone in an EMS jacket. A woman in navy blue with a headlamp jogged up, a small bag slung over her shoulder. She tapped my window. I lowered it a few inches. I'm Dana, she said. Paramedic, Mind if I talk to you and your passenger for a second? Sure, I said automatically. She shone the headlamp briefly in my eyes, checking pupil response. You remember your name? She asked. Alex Vega, I said. 36, no meds, no allergies. What's the last time you remember clearly before all this? She asked. Leaving the gas station at Green River around 10:10, I said. Then an emergency alert, then things get fuzzy. The clock keeps jumping. She nodded. You're not the only one, she said. We're calling it displacement for now. Seems tied to cloud movement. Inside this zone under the overpass, it doesn't happen. Did you ever fully exit your vehicle since you passed mile marker 140? I don't think so, I said, but the kid says I did. She glanced toward the back seat. What's your name, buddy? She asked. Noah, he said quietly. Noah Price. Okay, Noah, she said. Did you see Alex get out of the car at any point? He nodded. Yeah, he said. He came to my dad's car. He was outside. He told me to get in and keep my head down. Then, I don't remember a few minutes. Then we were moving again and he was talking to himself. Dana looked at me. I don't remember that, I said. At all. Memory gaps are common, she said, especially associated with episodes where people stepped out. For now, stay in. You're safe under the bridge. We'll probably hold you here until the front passes or the clouds clear. How long will that take? I asked. She gave a small, humorless shrug. Radar says the system is slow moving, she said. Could be hours, could be all night. As if on cue, her radio crackled. Dana, we're about to get another wave, a voice said. Cloud band moving through, you inside? Affirmative, she said. Under the span at 153. Copy, hold there. We just lost contact with Morales again. Last ping near 149. My head snapped up. Lena Morales? I asked. UDOT engineer? Dana nodded. Yeah, she said. You saw her? She flagged me down back there, I said. Told me to keep going to the overpass. She said she'd be right behind me in her truck. Dana's mouth tightened. She's been in and out of radio contact for the last hour, she said. Every time we think we've guided her in, something happens, and she isn't where we expect. The massive shape flickered out on the open road again, visible from my angle just beyond the edge of the bridge's shadow. Even from here, with the concrete overhead, it made my skin crawl. It blocked out sections of headlights, then released them, like a curtain of darkness moving back and forth. Anybody figure out what that is? I asked quietly. Dana followed my gaze, then deliberately shifted her eyes back to my face. We're not looking at it any more than we have to, she said. People who stare at it seem to lose more time. For now, just know that it's tied to the light shifts. Under the bridge, we're shielded. Stay here. She moved on to the next car, leaving me sitting there with my hands still gripping the wheel. In the relative safety under the overpass, with concrete above and below, my adrenaline finally started to ebb. My hands tingled. My legs felt heavy. The steady hum of other engines, the murmur of voices, the occasional radio call, all formed a kind of cocoon. Noah leaned forward, his chin near the gap between the front seats. Are we stuck here? He asked. For a while, I said, but stuck here is better than out there. He shivered. My dad's still out there, he said softly. I closed my eyes for a moment. I know, I said. Once they figure this out, they'll go back for people. They're not going to leave him. He didn't answer. We sat there for what felt like half an hour, but for once, the clock confirmed it. It moved from 327 to 358 in real-time seconds. The cloud cover outside thickened and thinned, but under the bridge we stayed anchored. I watched as troopers and engineers worked a pattern. Every time the radios reported a stable window, a team in high-visibility vests would move out from under the overpass in pairs, jogging from vehicle to vehicle along the shoulder, banging on doors, shouting, trying to coax anyone still responsive back into cars and then shepherding those cars under the bridge or back east toward Green River. Sometimes they came back with people. Sometimes they came back alone. Sometimes, for a few terrifying minutes, they didn't come back at all. Then a radio call would ping and they'd reappear under the span, confused about having lost 15 minutes. At one point, I saw Henderson, the trooper from the closed ramp, stagger in under the bridge, his hat gone, eyes bloodshot. He leaned against a concrete pillar and slid down into a crouch, breathing hard. Another trooper clapped a hand on his shoulder. "You good?" I heard him ask. "Thought I was," Henderson said. "I was at 142, then I was at 151 with no memory. I saw my own cruiser twice from 2 different angles at the same time." "Take a seat," the older trooper said. "You're done for now." Every story I overheard sounded like that. People jumping around in time and space within the zone, cars shifting positions on the road, belongings appearing where they hadn't been. It reminded me of a pileup I'd once worked in a snowstorm, where 30 cars slid into each other over 10 minutes, and sorting out who hit who was a nightmare. But this wasn't 10 minutes. This was the same 10 minutes over and over, scrambled and replayed. Sometime after 4 in the morning, a white SUV with a federal license plate rolled up on the shoulder under the bridge. A man and a woman in dark windbreakers got out, carrying ruggedized laptops and cases of equipment. They walked from car to car with clipboards, asking the same questions. Name, time you entered the affected zone, any periods of missing time. Did you exit your vehicle at any point? Did you look directly at the object over the roadway? When they reached me, the man peered in through the window with a professional, distant curiosity. "Mr. Vega?" he asked, checking his clipboard. "Yes," I said. "I'm with the National Transportation Safety Board," he said. "We're assisting the state in figuring out what happened here tonight. Would you be willing to answer a few questions and let us collect data from your vehicle systems?" "Sure," I said. "Anything to help." He asked the standard questions, then plugged a small device into the OBD2 port under my dash, downloading data from the car's computer. Speed, location, timestamps, or what the car thought were timestamps. "Interesting," he murmured, watching the laptop screen. "Your vehicle reports being in 3 different places at the same time for a brief interval." "That seems bad," I said. He gave a quick, humorless smile. "Depends on your definition of bad," he said. "From a physics standpoint, it's fascinating. From a safety standpoint, yes, it's not ideal." He handed me a form on a clipboard through the cracked window. "We're going to ask that you don't share videos or detailed accounts of this event publicly for a while," he said. "We don't have a narrative we're comfortable putting out yet, and we don't want speculation to get ahead of facts." "My dashcam failed anyway," I said. "It went to static." "Almost all of them did," he said. "The ones that didn't are strange." He hesitated, then added, "In some recordings, there is a significant gap where we know you were moving, but no frames. In others, there are frames of vehicles that we can't find any physical record of. Cars that don't appear on any registration database. Faces that don't match any missing person reports." "That sounds comforting," I said dryly. He didn't smile. "The important thing is that you're here, and you're intact," he said. We'll be moving people west to Salina in escorted convoys as soon as the meteorologists tell us the worst is past." He moved on to the next car, leaving me with a form full of legal language about confidentiality. I signed where he indicated. I didn't trust that any camera I owned would still work right after what I'd seen. Around 5, the clouds finally began to thin. Patches of clearer sky appeared between the streaks. The light coming through shifted from uniform gray to faint gradients as stars peeked through gaps. With each clearing, the massive shape across the highway appeared less often. Its jumps grew farther apart. Its presence seemed weaker, less defined. At 5:30, someone under the bridge shouted, "It's gone!" I looked out from my angle and saw only open road. No curtain of darkness, no pulses of absence, just abandoned cars stretching back into the distance. Radio traffic picked up. Voices sounded more confident, less strained. Temporal displacement readings trending to 0. Someone said over the scanner, "Recommend we begin phased recovery operations." Eventually, Trooper Morgan came back to my window. "All right, Mr. Vega," he said. "We're going to start moving people west in groups. Escort vehicles will lead you to Salina. Continue to follow instructions, and when you get to town, someone will debrief you again. Medical will check you and your passenger thoroughly." "Any word on Lena?" I asked. He hesitated. "Not yet," he said, "but we're still sorting things out. Don't assume the worst just because we haven't checked every car." Noah was quiet as I relayed the plan. His eyes were red-rimmed. "Will they look for my dad?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "They're already looking. They'll keep looking." We merged into the slow procession of vehicles rolling west under the overpass and then back out into the open sky. The morning light was just beginning to tint the clouds a dull pink. The road felt ordinary again, rough seams and expansion joints, the occasional tar snake squirming across the lane. The empty cars were still there, of course. Engines off now, batteries drained in many of them. Doors shut or hanging open at odd angles. It looked like an evacuation scene from a mountain town after a wildfire pushed through, except there was no scorch, no debris. I avoided looking too closely. I focused on the taillights of the car ahead and the flashing lights of the escort vehicles. We reached Salina just after 6. The convoy peeled off at the first exit, guided into a cordoned-off section of a truck stop parking lot. Tents were already up, staffed by Red Cross volunteers and local EMTs. Coffee urns steamed on folding tables. Clipboards changed hands. I parked where they pointed and turned off the engine. For the first time in hours, there was no hum under my feet. The silence inside the car felt louder than any noise. I turned in my seat to look at Noah. He looked smaller than his age right then, hoodie pulled tight, shoulders hunched. "You hungry?" I asked. He shrugged. "A little," he said. "Let's get you checked by the medics first," I said. "Then we'll find you something hot." He nodded. I opened my door and stepped out into the cool morning air. It felt wrong. After hours of "do not exit your vehicle," my body resisted. My legs trembled a little as they took my weight. The sky overhead still had some cloud cover, but it was patchy now. The sun was a pale smear behind a thin layer of high gray. No massive shape, no jumps in time, just the usual morning chill and the faint smell of coffee and diesel. We walked together toward the medical tent. A nurse took Noah aside, asking about his father, his home, any relatives to call. An EMT took my vitals, checked my reflexes, asked me to count backward from 100 by 7s. "Any nausea, headache, visual disturbances?" she asked. "Only when I think about that thing over the road," I said before I could stop myself. She shrugged. "Join the club," she said. You'll probably have some weird dreams for a while. If you get to persistent dizziness or if you start losing time again, go to an emergency department. Otherwise, rest, hydrate, take it easy. I sat on the bumper of my car for a long while after that, sipping weak coffee from a paper cup, watching the organized chaos of the response. Helicopters thumped overhead now, life flight and media both. State officials clustered in small groups talking in low voices. Engineers unfurled cable reels and set up instruments. Eventually, an NTSB rep found me again and walked me through a more formal debrief. They recorded my answers on a tablet. At the end, he repeated the request that I keep details offline. "What are you going to tell people?" I asked him. "About what happened out there?" He looked tired. "We'll probably talk about an atmospheric anomaly interfering with electronics and causing disorientation," he said. "We'll mention the cloud cover, the lack of services, the isolation. We'll say that, in rare circumstances, people can perceive time differently under stress." "And the thing crossing the road?" I asked. He met my eyes. "We don't have language for that in an official report," he said quietly. "Not yet." He walked away, leaving me with that. By late morning, Noah's relatives from Provo arrived, faces lined with worry and relief. They hugged him hard, thanked me more times than I felt I deserved, and promised to keep pushing the authorities for news about his father. I gave them my number. We all knew the odds, but no one wanted to say it out loud. I checked into a motel in Salina after that, even though I'd planned to drive farther. I pulled the blackout curtains, lay down on the bed fully clothed, and stared at the textured ceiling. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from my sister. "Saw news about some highway event in Utah. They're saying, atmospheric disturbance. Is that what messed up your night?" I typed and erased several replies before settling on, "Yeah, it was strange. I'm okay, I'll call you later." I set the phone down and closed my eyes. In the dark behind my eyelids, the hazard lights from all those abandoned cars blinked in a slow, silent rhythm. The massive shape across the road appeared and disappeared with each imagined shift of the clouds. Always just ahead. Always in the way. Always moving from one place to another without crossing the space in between. I counted my breaths. "Time is 11:40, I whispered, even though I knew it wasn't. "I am in a motel room in Salina. I am lying on a bed. I am okay." It sounds ridiculous, narrating your own actions like that, but after what happened on I-70, it's how I keep myself anchored. Driving at night, I still catch myself saying the time out loud, describing the road, naming the landmarks. There was a story in the paper a week later. They reopened the interstate after a thorough inspection. No physical damage, no radiation, no residue of anything out of the ordinary. They chalked it up to a rare, weather-related phenomenon, impacting electronics and causing episodes of disorientation. They didn't mention Lena, or Noah's father, or the other people I saw standing on the shoulders staring at the sky. They didn't mention the reports of cars doubling, tripling, existing in two places at once before settling. They definitely didn't mention the shape. Some of the dashcam footage leaked anyway. Grainy clips showing the road ahead, then several seconds of static, then the road again. In one of them, you can see my Outback's taillights for a moment, stuttering in size as if they're both near and far at the same time. I've watched it exactly once. I still drive nights. I still pick people up from airports and bars and train stations and take them where they need to go. It pays the bills, and there's something soothing about the white lines slipping past. But if my phone ever lights up again with an alert that starts with, "Do not exit your vehicle," I will listen. I'll pull over safely. I'll put it in park. I'll stay put. and I won't look too closely at anything crossing the road when the clouds start to move. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support keeps these creepypastas coming. Until next time, stay alert, stay safe, and never ignore the feeling that something is watching.